Hi, everyone. Lisa Myers, the Business Owners Advocate, and I wanted to share with you today 5 common mistakes that can actually cost you your business. So, first of all, if you are just getting ready to start a business, or maybe you've even been in business for a little while, I just want to go over a few of the common mistakes, especially when you're in a startup. I work with the trade industries, those graduating from school, looking at getting a license and starting a new business, and also new startups as well. I help them to build that strong foundation so that they can go out and make money and succeed. So, let's talk about the first 5 common mistakes that can actually cost you your company. First of all, starting a business without a business plan. When I first started my business, what ended up happening was I had just newly graduated from cosmetology school, and I was working in a small salon, and the owner was constantly talking with her clients about how this was her last salon. She was retired. She had built a few other ones, and so I would sit there and I'd listen to her, and so I told, I was maybe 30 days out of cosmetology school, and I just commented to her. I says, hey, in a few years when you get ready to retire, I would possibly love to buy the salon from you. And she says, are you serious? I said, well, in a few years I might be in that position. Well, 30 days later, she came back to me and she says, were you serious about buying the salon? And I says, well, yeah. And she says, my husband has actually been transferred to Idaho and we're going to be moving. My husband hadn't even seen the salon yet. And all of a sudden we got a mortgage on the home. So we'd have the cash flow to buy the salon. And my husband said, and I pressured him. I said, oh, this is what I want. And I pressured him and he said, we had better not lose the house over this. And so I had no clue. Really, I had no clue. I was not prepared. I had no business plan. And when you have no business plan, what you find out is that you are in reaction mode. You are working in your business instead of on your business. And what you've done is you've created a job, not a business. When you start with a business plan, you have already figured out what management is going to look like, what the organization is going to look like, what the product, the pricing, the services, your marketing. You're going to look at your sales and your operations, your control systems, your financials, and your growth. You're going to have a vision of where you're going to go and what's going to happen. I didn't have those. I was absolutely lost. I was running from one problem to the next. I didn't know how to negotiate. I didn't know, I really didn't know what I was doing. I knew my trade. I knew that, but I didn't know all of the dynamics about running a business. The second part that people run into is, first of all, before we go to the number 2, let's talk about some resources that can actually help you. So SCORE is a free business resource. And what that is, SCORE is, what they do is it's retired people, business owners, that just volunteer their services. So you can check with them and get some help. Also, the Small Business Development Center in any state that you're in, check them out. They have some incredible resources that you have. One thing that was brought to me was the E-Myth by Michael G. Gerber, or E. Gerber. Incredible book. It really does talk about why small businesses fail and what you can do about it. So I would check those out. Second thing is partnerships. Partnerships. Now, why partnerships? I had a few businesses with partners. My first one was after I'd gotten this salon that I had, probably about 2 years in, I met a woman that had a nail salon, and she did kind of teaching classes out of her salon, teaching nail technicians. There wasn't licensing in Utah at the time. And so we got together. She never taught her students theory. And because I got through cosmetology school, I had that background. And so we decided to create a partnership. We were friends. And, there's that saying, friends don't don't loan money to friends. The same thing is, there's another saying also that friends don't let friends drive drunk. Well, maybe it should say friends don't let friends be partners in business. Too many times, things can go wrong. So we decided to create this nail school. And after we started the partnership, she ended up getting divorced, and she met a gentleman down in St. George, which is about 5 hours from Salt Lake. Well, what she decided to do was start half of her time would be in St. George and half of her time would be up here in Salt Lake. Well, I was getting to the point where I was feeling like I was doing all the work and she was just kind of showing up for class. And it started just going haywire, and it kind of ended, and I bought out her part of the partnership, but we never really became stayed friends, and that was a sad situation. And I mean, it's hard when you have that problem. My second partnership was one of my best friends. Again, we loved planning and we loved creating this new business. However, business can be like a marriage. You have this honeymoon stage of the marriage, then comes getting to living together stage, and then comes day-to-day work stage. Again, like I said, she had a part-time job that demanded a lot of her time. This was my full-time job. This was how I was creating money. And after a while, it was her full-time job was taking her out of this business. And so we realized that we were both had different directions that we were going. And when we decided to close, it was really painful. Her husband said it's kind of like a divorce. And we were like, and he kept saying, so who, if we're going through a divorce, then who gets me? Because we had such a great relationship with each other. And we stayed friends, but it was not a good, I mean, there was just a strain on that relationship. I remember a gentleman I was working, doing some business coaching with him, and he needed some cash flow and, needed that cash influx into his business. He had a friend that was just retiring from his business, had some cash, had some money. And so his friend invested in the company. And they were having some struggles. And so they invited me in. And so the first thing we found was that they did not have any defined roles. The original owner, he had a lot of business contacts, and he'd go out and maybe go golfing, maybe fishing, and and entertain these contacts because they brought a lot of business to him. Well, that's what his friend wanted to do. He wanted to have the fun and so forth, and didn't understand the business. And because of that, they needed somebody to man the office, to do the operations. Well, that's not what he wanted to do. It created a huge financial burden, because they decided to, he decided to buy the original owner, buy him out, but it cost. They actually had to go to lawyers. It was a huge, absolute mess. So in partnerships, a lot of times, if you don't have defined roles of what that's going to look like, what also defined pay and profit splits. Sometimes people will come in again with the money. Others will come in with the expertise. And if you don't have, and it may not be a 50-50 split. And so if you don't have defined roles and defined how that profit's going to look, what that value is that each person is bringing in, as well as time and that, then it can get really hairy. And these need to be planned out before you go into partnership. It's so much easier to do it when there's no money involved, before you're already in business. Written contracts, everything needs to be written down. Everything needs to be agreed upon. In that contract, you need to understand what happens if one of you dies, right? You need a buy and sell agreement. You need to make sure that if set up what we have is like a life insurance policy for business owners, so that if one of the partners dies, then that way that insurance policy can buy out the other partner. Otherwise, you're working with the partner's spouse or even their family if there isn't a spouse, and it can get really complicated. The next one is a steep learning curve, right? When you go into business, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I didn't know the right questions to ask. And that you have this amazing strong learning curve, because all of a sudden you're in business. When you're in business, you're the CEO, you're the CFO, you're the technician, you're the manager, you're the accountant, you're the marketing department, you're the sales department, you're the customer service department, you're the visionary for the business, and also you're the disciplinary for yourself. Hey, the days that you don't want to get up and go to work, you get up and go to work. The days that you have to work long hours, you work long hours. I used to say that you always knew who the business owner was because they're the ones cleaning the bathroom. You have to take care of the business. Nobody else is going to love the business like you do. And so what questions do you have to ask? Well, if you have never owned a business, you don't even know. For me, I didn't even know the questions to ask. And that the SBA says that 50% of businesses fail or close their doors within the first 5 years. Why? Because you are running around, kind of like that saying, you're running around with your chicken with the head cut off, and that because you're taking care of problems, trying to stay afloat. My husband said, we better not lose this house, right, over you wanting to go into business. And so you have the fear of the family. The family wants to know, when are you going to be bringing in money? I was working with a friend. She owned a insurance. Not only did she have to buy the insurance company, but then she was continually putting money in to keep it afloat and not bringing out any money. And she lost, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing that. So if you are, in that learning curve, I made so many costly mistakes. I remember that when I was cutting a gentleman's hair, and he became a friend, a client. And I told him, I says, for 2 bits, I would sell you the salon. And he says, the thing is, instead of that, let's come back and have a conversation. And so he started asking questions that I had not even thought about, right? So find a mentor or a coach in business. Create an advisory board on that so that you can throw ideas off. Because, when you're the only advisory, you say, okay, I'm going to do this plan, and you think it's great, and then there's no income coming in. An advisory board of a corporation, they have an accountant that they can talk to. They have people that have owned businesses. They can throw ideas. And that, like a board of directors, create your own board of directors. Yes, you may have to pay them for their time, but meet with them quarterly or every 6 months and get some advice from them. It's valuable. It's priceless. Again, find those resources, those free resources. SCORE, the Small Business Development Center. Take classes and training. I went back to college and took different classes. There's so many trainings out there and so many classes. These classes that I teach that are free, right? That you can learn a little bit from that as well. I invite you to, like me on Facebook and on my YouTube channel. You can find it, The Business Owner's Advocate. You can find all the different classes in that. But you are constantly get that mind of just, that you're in learning on constantly, always. You're always be that, internal student forever in that. So the next thing is direction, right? You need to know the direction. What direction are you going with your company? So when I talked with this gentleman, he said, he says, instead of me buying the company, why don't I just come back and have a conversation with you? And so he says, first of all, the first question he said was, what do you want to be when you grow up? I hadn't even thought about it, right? I hadn't even thought about it. So the vision I didn't know. I says, yeah, I would kind of flip it. Well, I want to be the biggest and the best. Well, what does that look like? I don't know. Is it one salon, one chair? Is it, to be the best? Is it, 100 chairs? What does that look like? I hadn't even thought about it. So do you have a vision statement? Do you have a mission statement? What values do you stand by in your business? Right? Honesty, integrity, customer service. What does that look like? These answers will also come to you if you're working on your business plan. In that, make sure that you have a business plan. And this is going to guide you on how you're going to work and what you're doing. Again, you're working on the business. You're that entrepreneur working on the business and it'll remind you why you're in business and where you're going and what goals and so forth. And great book to read is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And habit number 2 states, begin with the end in mind. Do you want to create this business so that you can sell it in 5 years? So what would that look like if you're trying to sell it, right? Are you going to stay in it until you die and you leave the business? So find out exactly what it is that you want to do when you're in business, where you want to go and where you want to take this business to. And number 5, thinking you can do it all by yourself. Thinking that you can do it all by yourself, right? That's not going to happen. Again, it takes, they have the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, surround yourself with people that can raise you up and help you, right? You can't do this alone. And that you need people. You need people to help you. You need people to encourage you. And that because there's going to be some hard days and there's going to be some amazing days. And so you want to find out what the free resources are that are available. Get plugged into education through the SCORE and Small Development Center. And again, watch my YouTube channel. Network and look for reliable mentors and coaches. I would love to have a conversation. I offer a free 1-hour strategy coaching. And I'm not going to pressure you to, okay, now you've got to work with me. It's a true, genuine, I want to help you and see where you're at. Make sure you are protected. Look at your insurance and get commercial insurance for your business as well as life insurance if you have a partnership. Find a good bank or credit union, and that it is so valuable to have a relationship with that bank manager and get to know them, because there might be a time that you're going to need to get a loan. It's so much easier when you have a relationship. Find an accountant or a CPA that understands small businesses and that understands tax strategies and wealth. I love the book Profit First because it teaches you where a lot of times you set up your accounting and so forth to where you're being paid last. Well, what is it going to take so that you can bring home money and you can support your family as well as grow your business? And then lawyers can be extremely expensive, 200 plus an hour. And so I have a program it's called the company called Legal Shield. I'd love to talk to you about that, where you can get unlimited consultation for under $49 a month for your business. So being a business owner, it can be fun, it can be exciting, but it's also like a roller coaster, right? You have your ups and your downs and your ups and your downs. And I just want to help you see the more ups than downs. So make a commitment to stay on for that whole ride. Remember to keep your hands and your feet in at all times. And again, my name is Lisa Myers, the Business Owner's Advocate. Take me up on this free 1-hour strategy session. And I hope that you have an amazing, successful business. Thank you.